Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We'll give just a few more moments as some people are still coming into the webinar. Hope everyone is ready for the holidays and has got all your shopping done. Here in South Bend, Indiana, we have no snow, so it will not be a white Christmas for us here.
You still got a couple days, Angie. You never know.
I know. All right. Well, again, hello everyone, and welcome to our session today on Are you concerned about manufacturer recalls and your liabilities under FSMA? Joining us today are Scott Borsotti. He is our Customer Engagement Specialist here at Innovia Consulting. And also joining us is Tom Doran. He is our Chief Marketing Officer. And before I pass it over to Scott, I would like to remind you that this session is being recorded and it will be posted to our on-demand library later this week for you to review and share with anyone. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type those into the questions box and we will get them answered at the end of the presentation. So now I will pass it over to Scott to kick off our presentation.
Thanks, Angie. Good morning. As Angie said, my name is Scott Borsotti, a customer engagement specialist at Innovia. And I spent about 28 years in food service distribution. So I have some experience in the food space. Been working with NAV since introduced to NAV in 2004. And today we want to talk about manufacturer recalls, the liabilities under FSMA, which is I would say complicated at the least. It's about a 200-page document, as some of you may have enjoyed the reading pleasure, others may not. But it's somewhat vague. But there's traceability requirements for manufacturers to notify the supply chain of any recall of a complete product or ingredients that go into the makeup of those products. And food service distributors, everybody's required to notify a customer so that we can get it off the shelf or out of a DC or in quarantine within 24 hours of the notification. In most cases, manufacturers are doing this on their own. Hopefully the FDA is not telling them to recall something, but if that be the case, then it is. But in the proactive approach, everybody has 24 hours to notify their customers. And I'm sure that a lot of people on the webinar are familiar with the different publications where you can see information and notifications. Most distributors participate in IFTA, which puts out a daily notification, and I don't recall a day in a long time when there wasn't some form of a recall or information related to a recall that's not publicized. So the question I would pose is, when your number comes up, because you're all going to be eligible, what do you do? How do you notify your customers? Is it a hair on fire, hurry up, and a manual process? Do you have an easy way to figure out who has received product that has that lot and serial number on it? When they received it, is it the right date code that's under recall? How do you do that today? And if you're asking yourself that question, then maybe we should have a deeper conversation. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Tom Doran to show you a little bit about Dynamics Business Central and how that would take place.
Thanks, Scott. As Scott said, my name is Tom Doran, and I lead our sales and marketing team. But Scott and I have actually worked together for the better part of 30 years in all forms of food service. So both for myself, Scott was mostly in distribution, but for myself, I was an operator. I was in food manufacturing, frozen food manufacturing for about 5 years. And then in broadline distribution. And so as we came to work with the Microsoft Dynamics products, we were very excited to find NAV for Food. And NAV for Food really takes the base functionality that makes Dynamics such a great solution and really tailors it a little bit more closely for our friends in the food space. And so, that Food Safety Modernization Act is it's great. But we have seen many of our distribution and manufacturing customers suffer before they've made the switch to Microsoft Dynamics. And while manual systems and most, it's really, really difficult to operate in today's environment with no system at all. But most of the folks that we've known over the years have really great manual systems. They track things. But it takes an awful lot of effort for them to be able to answer questions quickly. And if you think about some of the more recent recalls where they were produce related, the romaine lettuce, the life of romaine or many other perishable goods is really only a few days to potentially a week in the entire supply chain. And so there's a lot of talk at the federal level about how to increase the level of responsiveness to ensure that we can track things back effectively all the way from the field to the table, and try to protect people from potential illnesses. And so in Microsoft Dynamics Nav for Food, we have some enhanced lot tracking capability that has really made the lives of our existing customers a lot easier. So in this case, we're looking at an item list, and then I'm looking at some of my sharp cheddar cheese. And so if I'm notified that I have an issue with this particular item, I can go in quickly. I can see my lot availability. So I trigger a few things in terms of setup, right? And I'm going to leave most of the setup alone for today and just focus on the lot traceability. So I determine whether an item is lot traceable, what the lot numbering is, what their expiration and quarantine codes are. So in this case, it's it's an item I'm making some cheese. It's going to be good for 6 months. I'm going to quarantine it for 2 days before it goes out. And I'm going to calculate a freshness in a sell by date. And I have some flexibilities there, days to fresh, best if used by. But in this case, I have a sell by date, which then says, hey, by that date, I've got 4 months in my sell by date. If I've got chemical makeup in my products, I can talk about lot strength codes. But on any given item, I can go in and I can look at the lots that I have in stock. And so in this case, I'm going to take a quick look at my lot information card, see what's going on, how many days it's aged, which in cheese is an important thing. So this is where I set up all that background relative to how the system is going to trace a particular lot of material. So if I go back to my roll center, if I'm my quality person, I've got lot tracing front and center. So when the phone call comes in, I click one button, it says, hey, what am I looking for? So in this case, I'm going to look for my item number 1130, and I want to see my lot number, which is F10169. And so instantly it brings up my complete supply chain. So at the top are all the raw materials that went into that lot number. And at the bottom is every place that this went. So all of the items that I have in stock. So it's showing me, hey, I've still got some of this stuff on the shelf, and who I sold it to. So I can instantly get a hold of all my customers right away and inform them of the potential issue that we've faced. If the backside of this is, I've got the notice I got, it isn't actually my notice. Maybe my friends at Danner's Dairy which is my source for this milk, have informed me that I've got an issue with this particular lot number. So if I click on this item and I run a trace, it's going to reevaluate and say, okay, for the raw milk from Danner's, where did this stuff go? And so now I can go in, whoops, sorry, clicked the wrong button there. Where did I lose my screen? All right, sorry. I'm in a remote desktop because I'm out of the building today, so I'm gonna just rerun this real quickly. And I'm gonna rerun my trace for my milk, and I'm gonna click the other. So now I want to know where my raw milk went. Well, so it turns out that I use this same raw milk in a few different items. So I can see my bulk cheddar, I can see my other cheddar, I can see anything that went into my sharp cheddar loaf. So I can quickly get a hold of the customers and pull the items out of my own stock that might be affected by this potential milk contamination. So as you can see, in a matter of, just a few seconds, if this was hundreds of thousands of lines, it might take a couple of minutes, but well within the deadlines established by the federal regulators, I have the ability to determine and respond proactively, so I demonstrate to my customers, my supply chain, and to the general public that I'm being a good corporate citizen, that I've got their safety first and foremost, and that I'm dedicated to making sure that we're being a responsible provider of the food stuffs that they use in their daily lives. So hopefully that was a helpful demonstration, and this will be one of a series that Scott and I are dedicating to our food manufacturing and distribution customers to ensure that you can run your businesses more safely and more effectively using Microsoft Dynamics. Scott, back to you.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. And do we have any questions, Angie?
Yes, we do. What recall functionality and reporting is in base nav?
Okay. All right. Let me go back. Can you still see my screen? All right. Let me show my screen. So if I go back, so we'll stick with our same item. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll stick with my same item of sharp cheddar loaf, and Nav does a nice job of lot control. And it isn't that you can't get where you're trying to go. So there's an item tracing in base nav. So if I click on this one and I want to look for that lot number, so my F10169, and I trace this thing, it's going to show me the shipments that it went through. And if I expand this, it's going to show me all the different transactions that went into it and give me the quantities and remaining quantities so that I could respond appropriately to a particular recall. So if I go down to my milk again and I hit trace, this is where it gets a little trickier, right? So I have to run a second trace on this lot number. It doesn't give me that split screen that shows me both the up and down in a given lot. It only shows me one lot of material and where that went at a time. So, it's pretty good functionality. It's going to give me the information I need. However, it is going to take just a few more clicks and a few more minutes to get to all the information to do a complete recall, depending on where in the supply chain, we got the notice. So hopefully that's helpful. Other questions, Angie?
Nope, that is the only one that we had for today. Please feel free to contact us for if you have any additional questions that you want to discuss, any projects that you're working on that you need some help with. We'd be happy to help you.
Thanks, Angie. And if you could pass it back to me, I want to put my contact information up on the screen. I would appreciate that. And if you do have any questions and want to contact me directly, there's my email address. And please don't hesitate. I'd be happy to talk to you about those questions you may have and see if we can be of service. I don't think we can emphasize enough how important it is to be in a good position. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, that we're all going to be subject to this. And for those in both aspects, manufacturing and distribution, as you acquire new customers, they're going to be more concerned. Maybe today, for some reason, you don't have concerned customers, but getting into national accounts and schools and different organizations that have their own quality groups, they're going to want to know what your plan is for recalls, how you're going to address that to make sure everybody's on the front end of that and not spending a lot of time reactionary and keep their name out of the news. So thank you again for your time, and hopefully you'll join us again on upcoming webinars.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Scott and Tom, for presenting today, and to everyone on today's call or watching on demand. Thank you for joining us. We do have more webinars starting up the new year for 2019. On Wednesday, January 9th, we have Steve Waltz from Innovia Consulting presenting on Rapid Fire, 60 sales tips in 30 minutes to help you crush your sales quota. So if you're interested in attending that webinar or any of our future webinars, be sure to check out our events page on our website. Thank you again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again soon on another Innovia webinar. Happy holidays, everyone.